All right, so we got this bar, and when we look at our site, you can see it looks pretty good. One of the things I don't like, though, is that I have these really long paragraphs, and I have three of them, and they're stacked, right? Sometimes things are written like that, but usually you would see these in columns, right? So instead of them three on stacked, I like it if they were three across. I think that would look better, which is a little bit hard to do in manual coding, but that's what we're going to do. And the other thing is I don't like how this is shoved to the left. I want this to be in the center. So we're going to fix those couple of things in this one here, okay? So let's go ahead and expand. We're going to do it all in CSS. So what I'm going to do is up here before my section area, it doesn't really matter, but I just want to keep things together. I'm just going to go ahead and do my ID for content. And then I just want to change the background color of it. So background, where are you, color? I think that would be the top one. Oh, background color. And then I just want it to be the dark color. So I think this is the dark color. So Control C, Control V, get rid of the extra one. Okay, so I'm just going to add that to background color. And then we're just going to add a little bit of code here onto my section. And we're going to make each section a little bit different. Currently, right now, if you were to look at it, they're stacked. And the reason why they're stacked is because they are what we call block level, which means that every one of them starts on a new line. So it's like hitting enter, right, for each one. So what I want to do is make it so they go one after the other, right? So that's what we're going to do here. So I'm going to go ahead and change its display from not block, not to inline, but to inline block, which it's kind of like halfway in between, but what it'll do is it'll make them into blocks, but they'll be blocks that are stacked next to each other. They will not start on a new line. Then we just need to determine the width of each of them, because currently they'll just be however long. So I'm just going to do width. I thought it would give me the thing automatically, and I'm going to do 220px. And I just got that I took 960 and divided it by 3, and then because 960 is our total width of the web page, and then I left a gap in there too, more than that, so that we can have gutters and margin in between. So then we'll change the height of them, because if we don't do height, they'll all be different heights, and that will look kind of weird. So I'm just going to go ahead and do 200px. And then we're going to do vertical align. And we'll just do to top. And that will just make it so they stick to the top as opposed to being in the center on vertical. Okay? So if we were to preview this, you will see now we have 3 sections going across. Ooh, so great, right? Okay, so they're a little bit tight and stuff, so let's see if I can fix that a little bit. Let's go back to my CSS. And, okay, so this is why. I only have margin on the bottom. I want them to have margin from each other. So I'm actually going to take the bottom part off. Okay, and it went up there for some weird reason. Let's try that again. So I'll take the bottom part off, and now, when I go over here, there's more of a gap between them. Okay, so now you can see, yay, there are like 3 things, and I determined that they'd be 220 because I just thought that that would look good, at least this much gap, and then I just made it 200 for the height. And then the inline, what it does is it just makes them, the inline block will just make them happen one after the other, so it just goes across. Okay, all right, great. And then the last thing I want to do is that footer, so I'm just going to go on the bottom here and just add it at the very end. So we'll just do hashtag footer, and I want to affect the H3, and then we're just going to do it again. I'm just going to do it to each one of the elements that are in there. So there's an H3 that says things he dislikes or something like that. Then there's an unordered list, right? And then there's also the P, which has the link on it with the image attached. So this we'll do one here for P, and that will affect all of the items in some manner. So we'll just go ahead and do width first, and we'll do 200px. So we're just going to by default say they're all 200. Then we'll do margin dash left and do auto, and then we're going to do margin dash right auto. And when we preview this, it'll put it right in the middle. Now, the reason why we're doing auto, let me explain this real quick, is that what it does is it will, so normally if you do margin left, right, I would put a number in there and it would push it a certain amount. So like if I did margin left, let's say 50%, if I did a percentage, it would push it 50% of the page over, but that means it would start right at the 50%, which means the thing would actually be over here, right? So I'd have to like guesstimate, be like, oh, well, maybe like, I don't know, 40%, but I have to think about how thick it was, and how far over it was. So that doesn't really work. And I could put in a hard number like pixels, but again, that doesn't work. But if I do auto, it'll automatically, try to find the middle ground. And if I do that on left and right, it'll put it in the middle. Now, the only way that works is that you have to have a width on the items themselves, and the items themselves have to be block level. And what that means is that they start on a new line, just like they are currently. Some elements are not like that. So, for instance, links aren't like that. Spans aren't like that. There's certain ones that they don't start on a new line. So they would have to be that sort, and you have to determine what the width of them are first. That's why I actually put the width in. I just made sure the width was the total width of what it was, what the elements were, and that allowed it to center in here. So you can see, ooh, great. Okay, that looks good for this, and I think we're just about done.